Hello everyone, I'm your host, Criminality, and tonight we are covering one of the most bizarre and unsettling legends to ever emerge from Victorian England. A figure witnesses described as having glowing eyes, clawed hands, and the ability to leap over buildings as though gravity simply did not apply to him. For decades, people across England claimed they had encountered the same entity lurking in the darkness above the streets. They called him Spring-Heeled Jack. So, in the early 1800s, London was a city that changed completely after sunset. During the day, the streets were crowded with workers, merchants, horse-drawn carriages, and moving endlessly through the city. But at night, London became something else entirely. Fog rolled between narrow alleyways, oil lamps barely illuminated the roads, and entire sections of the city were left in near total darkness. And violent crime was common enough that most people avoided walking alone whenever possible. It was the perfect environment for fear to spread, and in 1837 fear arrived in the form of a figure no one could explain. The first reports sounded absurd. Several individuals had claimed that they encountered a tall man dressed in dark clothing who appeared suddenly at night before escaping in impossible ways. Witnesses described as glowing red eyes, sharp metallic claws, and movements seemed almost unnatural. According to multiple accounts, this figure could leap extraordinary distances, clearing walls, fences, and even rooftops in a single motion. And at first, newspapers dismissed the stories as exaggerations or pranks, but then the attacks began. One of the most early major incidents involved a young woman named Mary Stevens. Late one evening, Mary was walking home through a quiet part of London when she noticed footsteps behind her. As she turned around, a dark figure rushed out from the shadows and grabbed her. Mary later stated that the attacker's hands felt cold and rigid like metal. Before she could escape, the figure leaned towards her face and released what she described as blue flames from its mouth. Mary screamed loudly enough for nearby residents to hear her. Several people rushed outside, but by the time they arrived, the attacker was already fleeing the scene. Witnesses claim the figure escaped by vaulting over a tall wall with shocking speed before disappearing into the darkness. Following this incident, newspapers finally gave the mysterious attacker a name: Spring-Heeled Jack, and almost immediately the legend spread across England. Over the following months, reports had multiplied rapidly. A carriage driver claimed that he had seen a figure standing motionless on top of a building before it suddenly leapt out of sight. A police officer reportedly pursued Jack through a narrow street, only to watch him jump onto a rooftop far above ground level. Several witnesses claimed they heard a strange metallic sound shortly before encountering him. Not footsteps. Not running. A spring-like noise echoing through the fog. As fear spread throughout the city, public behaviour began to change. Parents warned the children not to stay outside after dark. Businesses closed earlier in the evenings, and some residents became convinced that something supernatural was moving across the rooftops at night. And what made the situation especially disturbing was the consistency of the reports. Most witnesses described the same features: the glowing eyes, the dark clothing, and of course, the unnatural leaps, the mocking behaviour. But because of this, according to most accounts, Spring-Heeled Jack did not behave like an ordinary criminal. In several encounters, he had seemed less interested in robbery or violence and more interested in terrifying his victims. That detail alone made the legend deeply unsettling to the public. Eventually, the theories began to emerge regarding Jack's identity. Some believed he was just simply an eccentric individual using mechanical devices or spring-loaded footwear to perform the impossible jumps witnesses described. Others argued that the sightings were a result of mass hysteria and amplified by newspapers eager to sell stories. But neither explanation could fully satisfy the public, because of the sightings did not stop. In fact, they continued for decades. Reports surfaced not only in London, but in Liverpool, Sheffield, and several towns throughout England. In one account, soldiers stationed at the military barracks claimed they had encountered a figure matching Jack's description near the perimeter walls late at night. According to the story, one guard fired directly at the figure, and witnesses claim the entity laughed before leaping over the wall and vanishing into darkness. No evidence was ever recovered, and the suspect was definitively identified. And over time, Spring Heel Jack evolved from a terrifying local figure in one of Britain's most enduring urban legends, and even today, historians still debate what people were truly seeing: a criminal exploiting public fear, a series of elaborate hoaxes, or mass panic caused by sensational reporting, or something far stranger. But regardless of the explanation, one detail from the original reports remains particularly unsettling. Many witnesses claimed that Jack, before ever seeing him, they heard him first, a metallic bouncing sound somewhere overhead, followed by silence. And then they finally looked up, and they realised they were no longer alone. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and support my content. Thank you for listening.